If you're listening late at night, you might want to stay until the end. Something happened to me, and to this day I can't understand it. My name is Rodrigo. I've been driving a taxi in Portland, Oregon for 8 years, always the night shift, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's when the city changes its face. When the drunks go home, when the hospitals call relatives, when strangers show up out of nowhere asking for rides to nowhere. I've seen it all. Couples fighting in the back seat, people crying, people in silence, staring out the window as if the world had ended. But what happened that night? That was different. It was a little after 1 a.m. on Thursday. It was drizzling, the kind that leaves the asphalt as black as a mirror and makes headlights slide across the wet road. I was standing on the corner of Morrison and 82nd Avenue, waiting for a ride through the app, when someone knocked on the window. I jumped. I swear, I didn't see anyone approaching. I rolled down the window. It was a man. A dark, soaked suit, hair plastered to his forehead, a pale face, somewhat undefined under the dim streetlight. He didn't say, "Good evening." He didn't ask if I was free. He just opened the back door, got in, and pointed ahead with his finger. 3247 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. His voice was low, almost a whisper, as if he were too tired to speak properly. I confirmed the address on the GPS and started the car. While driving, I smelled a strange odor coming from behind. It wasn't alcohol. It wasn't cigarettes. It was something old, damp, like wet earth, or clothes that had been stored for years. I tried to start a conversation. Cold night, huh? Silence. Coming back from work. Nothing. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was sitting right in the middle of the seat, upright, with his hands on his knees. His eyes were fixed straight ahead. I thought, okay, another one who doesn't want to talk, no problem. I turned the radio on low, instrumental jazz, something to fill the void. But the emptiness continued, because little by little, I began to realize he wasn't breathing. There was no sound coming from behind. No sigh, no adjustment of the seat, no movement of the fabric of his clothes, nothing, as if he were a statue. I turned off the radio, just to be sure. The silence grew heavy, only the fine rain pattering against the window, only the low hum of the engine, and nothing more. My heart started racing. Calm down, Rodrigo. Some people breathe slowly, but that wasn't it. It was total absence. I stopped at the traffic light on Belmont. Red. The street was empty. Just him and me. I looked in the rearview mirror again. He remained there, eyes open, fixed, without blinking. And then I realized he wasn't looking ahead. He was looking for me, right in the rearview mirror, as if he knew I was going to look. The traffic light turned green. A car behind me honked. I gave it a jolt and took off. When I looked again, the bank was empty, completely empty. I braked suddenly. The car skidded slightly. I pulled over to the side of the road, breathless. I turned my whole body backward. Nothing. Only the dark leather seat, damp. But the seatbelt, the back seatbelt, it was stuck, as if anyone was still using it. I stood there on the shoulder of the road, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The seatbelt remained taut, locked, as if someone invisible were sitting there, trapped in it. I took a deep breath. I tried to think. He left. Of course he left. You were distracted. He opened the door, went downstairs, and you didn't notice. But he would have I heard it. The door makes a noise. The sensor turns on the interior light. And I was looking in the rearview mirror the whole time. I got out of the car. A light rain was wetting my face. I opened the back door. The seat was damp, not just from the rain. It had a mark, as if someone had been sitting there for a long time. The dampness had an outline, a shape. I ran my hand over it. It was cold, very cold, and the smell persisted. Wet earth, mold, something that shouldn't be inside a car. I tried to unfasten the seatbelt. It wouldn't unlock. I pressed the red button hard. Nothing. It was stuck, as if there was weight holding it in place. I pulled with both hands. Suddenly, bang, it came loose on its own. It recoiled quickly, hitting the fitting with a dry snap. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. I looked around. The street was empty. Only the lampposts trembled in the rain. No pedestrians, no cars, no one who could have gotten out of my taxi. I went back to the front. I turned on the interior light. I picked up my phone and opened the ride history on the app. Nothing. No request registered. No active ride. As if that man had never even logged in. But he went in. I saw it. I felt the weight of the car shift when he sat down. I heard his voice saying the address. I typed 3247 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard into the GPS. The map loaded. It was a real address, an old building. But something told me not to go there. Not now. I turned off my cell phone. I took a deep breath. You're tired, Rodrigo. Very tired. You're working too hard. Maybe you dozed off for a second. Maybe you imagined it. But the mark on the bench was there. Cold, real. I started the car and went back out onto the street. I decided to go home. That's enough driving for today. While driving, I looked in the rearview mirror every 5 seconds. The back seat remained empty, but I swore I could feel it. Something. It was as if someone were watching me. Not through my eyes, but from within. As if they knew my every thought. I got home at 2:40 a.m. I parked in the garage. I sat in the car, just staring into space. My ex-wife always said I acted strangely after the divorce, that I spent too much time alone. Too much time driving late at night. You're going to go crazy, Rodrigo. You're going to start seeing things. Perhaps she was right. I got out of the car. I locked everything up. I went up to the apartment. I took a hot shower. I threw myself on the bed, but I couldn't sleep. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw that pale face in the rearview mirror. Those open eyes, fixed, without blinking. And the question that everyone was asking. If he never got in, why was the seatbelt fastened? I spent the next day trying to forget. I slept until noon. I woke up with a heavy head, that kind of tiredness that just won't go away. I made coffee. I sat on the apartment balcony, watching the rain fall again on Portland. Everything seemed normal, gray, ordinary. But that night, when I picked up the taxi keys, I felt a tightness in my chest. You're not going back to that street, are you? You're not going to look for the address. Of course not. I was going to work, do my errands, earn my money, forget about it. The first ride was uneventful. A couple returning from a restaurant. The second, a nurse leaving their shift. Everything normal. Then, around 1 a.m., I received a request on the app. Starting address, corner of Morrison and 82nd. Exactly where I was yesterday. My finger stopped on the screen. I stared. My heart raced. Coincidence. Just a coincidence. I accepted. When I arrived, there was no one there. The corner was empty. A light rain was falling again, as if Portland were stuck in a loop. I waited 5 minutes. The ride was cancelled. But as I was about to start moving, I felt it again. The smell. Wet soil. Mold. Coming from the back seat. I looked in the rearview mirror. Empty. But it too felt as if someone had just left, as if the air were still displaced. I left there quickly. In the following days, I started to notice things. Small. Strange. Sometimes, when I stopped at a traffic light, the rearview mirror would vibrate on its own. Just a little, as if someone had bumped into it from behind. Other times, The seatbelt in the back seat would come undone on its own, bang out of nowhere, without anyone touching it. And the smell would come back, always in the early morning, always after 1 a.m. One night, during my coffee break, I met another taxi driver, an older guy, probably around 60. He was leaning against his car, smoking. "Hey, Rodrigo, how's it going?" "More or less," I replied. I hesitated, but I needed to ask, "Have you ever picked up a strange passenger?" He laughed, but it was a humorless laugh. How strange. Like someone who just vanishes, who gets in the car and disappears. His smile died. He looked at me seriously. He threw his cigarette on the ground and walked away slowly. "You caught him, didn't you?" I felt a chill down my spine. "Who?" "The guy in the wet suit. Who asks to go to Hawthorne Boulevard?" My blood ran cold. You saw it too?" He nodded. "Yes." Slowly. 3 times. Always the same thing. Gets in the car. Hardly says anything. And when you look again, he's gone. But he leaves that smell. That feeling. What is that?" He shook his head. "I don't know. But other drivers saw it too. We don't talk about it much, because nobody believes us. And if we talk too much, they think we're crazy. And the address, 3247 Hawthorne. Have you been there?" He remained silent. He lit another cigarette. His hands trembled slightly. "Just once. Only once. It's an old building, abandoned. There was a fire there in the 90s. 4 people died." He took a long drag. They say one of them never left. I got back in the car with wobbly legs. I started the engine. I stood there, trying to process it. "You don't believe that, Rodrigo. You're rational. It's just a coincidence. Typical taxi driver stories." But while I was thinking, I looked in the rearview mirror, and there, reflected in the wet glass, for a second, I saw a figure sitting behind me. I turned my head. Nothing. But when I looked in the mirror again, the back seatbelt was stuck again. I was out of work for a week. I called the customs broker and told him I was sick. Fever, flu, anything. He grumbled, but accepted. I spent my days locked up at home, watching television without paying attention, eating poorly, sleeping even worse. Every night, I would wake up at 1:15 a.m., exactly at the same time, and every night I could smell it, even inside the apartment, wet earth, mold, as if something had followed me home. On the 7th day, the money ran out, bills to pay, rent overdue. I couldn't just stay idle forever, so I came back. It was Wednesday. Clear sky, no rain, but the air was still humid. I took the taxi from the garage. I cleaned the back seat. I sprayed air freshener. I did everything to erase any trace. I started my shift at 10 p.m. Normal runs, nothing unusual. Then, at 1:10 a.m., the app beeped. Ride request. Origin, Morrison with the 82nd. Destino, 3247 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. My hand froze on my phone. Refuse. Refuse now. But my finger accepted it on its own. As if something had decided for me. I drove there with my heart pounding in my chest. The streets were empty, silent. Only the rumble of the engine and my accelerated breathing. When I turned the corner, I saw it. He was there, standing under the lamppost. Dark suit, hair plastered to his forehead, as if he'd just come out of the rain, but it wasn't raining. I stopped the car. He opened the back door and went inside. The smell hit immediately. Strong. Suffocating. He sat in the middle of the bench, hands on his knees, eyes fixed straight ahead. I said nothing. I tried to speak, but my voice wouldn't come out. My throat was dry, closed up. I took off. Absolute silence. No breathing. No movement. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was there, motionless, like a photograph. I tried again. Are you real? Nothing. Why do you keep coming back? Silence. My hand trembled on the steering wheel. Sweat dripped down my forehead. What do you want from me? And then he spoke. The voice came out low, hoarse, as if it came from very far away. You left me alone. I felt a shiver run through my entire body. What? I don't know you. He kept looking ahead. 3247. Hawthorne, you promised, but you never came back. I never promised anything. I don't know who you are. Then, slowly, he turned his head, and he looked at me, directly, through the rearview mirror. And when our eyes met, I saw something that shouldn't have been there. Something erased, empty, as if behind those eyes, there was nothing, only darkness. You know, my breath stopped, because somehow, you knew. I don't know how. I don't know why. But something inside me recognized that face, that voice, like a buried memory, forgotten, or erased on purpose. I stopped at the traffic light. Red. Hands gripping the steering wheel. If I take you there, will this end? Silence. Answer. The traffic light turned green. I looked in the rearview mirror again. The bank was empty, but the smell lingered. And on the fogged-up back window, someone had written with their finger, "Almost there." I swallowed hard, and I kept driving, straight to the address, because now I needed to know, even if it meant crossing a door that should never have been opened. The building stood at the end of Hawthorne Boulevard. 3 stories, dark bricks, broken windows, some covered with old boards. The facade bore marks of soot climbing the walls, scars from the fire that had never been erased. I stopped the car in front. The engine remained running, my hand on the gear shift, ready to go. But I couldn't. I looked in the rearview mirror. He was there again, sitting, motionless, looking ahead. This is it, I murmured. As we've arrived, he didn't move. You can go now, please. Nothing. I felt tears burning my eyes. I don't know why, I don't know where it came from, but there was something inside me, something screaming. I don't know what you want from me. I don't remember. I swear I don't remember. Then he spoke. For the last time. You remember. And slowly, like smoke dissipating, he disappeared. But this time, she left something behind. A wallet. In the back seat. Old, soaked, with dark stains that looked like old blood. I got out of the car with weak legs. I grabbed my wallet. I opened it. There was an ID inside. Faded photo. Name printed on it. Marcus Holloway. I read the name aloud, and something broke inside me. A memory. 8 years ago. I wasn't a taxi driver yet. I was a security guard. I worked at a bar on Hawthorne Street. A drunk guy started causing trouble. I dragged him out of there, roughly. More roughly than I should have. He fell on the sidewalk. He hit his head. He felt dizzy. Are you okay? I asked. He looked at me, bewildered. Blood was running down his forehead. I just want to go home. Do you want me to call a taxi? He nodded. Yes. I called. I waited until the car arrived. I helped him get in. I gave the address to the driver, 3247 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. The taxi left, and I went back to the bar. I never thought about it again, until now. I went online on my phone. My hands were trembling. I searched for Marcus Holloway fire in Portland in the 90s. I thought, an old news story. Fire in residential building leaves 4 dead. Among the victims, Marcus Holloway, 34, was found on the 3rd floor. Cause of death, smoke inhalation, body partially charred. The date of the fire, on the same night. The night I put him in that taxi, I felt the world spin. He never arrived home. The taxi must have dropped him off here, in this building. And hours later, the fire started. He died here, alone. And somehow, he thought I would come back, that I would check on him, that I cared. But I didn't go back. I left him alone. I drove off on autopilot. I don't remember the route. I don't remember stopping. I only remember being home, sitting on the couch, with my wallet still in my hand. I spent the next few days trying to understand. Did he blame me? Was it revenge, or just loneliness? A trapped soul, repeating the last thing it remembered. Waiting. Always waiting. I went back to work 2 weeks later. I still drive at night. I still go down Morrison Avenue at 82nd, but I never received that ride again. I never smelled it again. The rear seatbelt no longer locks automatically. Sometimes, when I stop at a traffic light, I look in the rearview mirror, and I don't see anything, but I feel it. I feel like something has stayed with me. Not outside, inside. A guilt I didn't know I was carrying. And now, I know I'll carry this with me forever. Because when you forget someone, when you leave someone behind, they don't just disappear. They are waiting, in the dark, until you remember. Something happened to me, and to this day I can't understand it. My name is Rodrigo. I've been driving Uber in Boston for 4 years. I know every street, every alley, every flashing light in this city like they're part of me. I've picked up drunks, couples arguing, people crying in the back seat. I've seen it all, or at least that's what I thought. That March night was cold, one of those cold nights that freezes your bones and makes you breathe steam. I'd been driving around downtown since 10 o'clock. Short rides, bad tips, silence. My ex had taken the dog that week. The house was too empty, so I preferred to stay on the street, driving, occupying my mind with anything but thinking. It was 2:47 a.m. when the call dropped, a dry ping on my phone. Destination nearby, short run, less than 3 kilometers. I accepted without thinking. The starting point was a residential street near Dorchester. Old houses, leafless trees, yellowish streetlights. Absolute silence. When I arrived, she was already on the sidewalk. Thin, dark jacket down to her knees, hair tied back, but a few loose strands fell across her face. She held her purse with both hands, as if someone might snatch it from her at any moment. She came in quickly, slammed the door, and murmured, "Good night," without looking at me. I said hi and asked if everything was okay. She just nodded. I checked the GPS. The destination was an industrial area to the south. Abandoned factories, warehouses, nothing residential. Strange, but it wasn't my problem. I started driving. She kept looking out the window the whole time. She didn't touch her cell phone. She didn't talk. She just observed. The streets were completely empty. No cars, no pedestrians. Only the sound of the engine and the wind hitting the glass. After about 3 minutes, she said, "It doesn't follow the GPS." I looked in the rearview mirror. She was still looking outside. "Like this? Please, just don't follow. It's not safe." Her voice was low, controlled, but trembled at the edges, like someone trying not to panic. I hesitated. Every strange race starts like this, but something about her demeanor made me agree. "Okay, tell me the way then." She pointed to the next one on the left. "Follow." The streets became even more deserted. Broken lampposts, cracked sidewalks, the occasional parked car covered in dust. The city seemed abandoned. That's when I started to feel it. I can't really explain it. It was like the air inside the car had become heavy, dense, difficult to breathe deeply, and cold, very cold. I turned on the heater, but it didn't help. I turned right as she asked, and that's when I saw it. The same gas station, closed, lights off, rusty sign swaying in the wind. I had passed him 3 minutes ago. I frowned. I looked at the odometer. It was running. I looked at the clock on the dashboard. Cour 47. It hadn't changed. I kept driving. I turned left again, as she instructed. Same bus stop, same broken wooden bench, same graffiti on the wall. They don't leave, and the dog. A brown mongrel, sleeping on the sidewalk, curled up in the same position. My stomach turned to ice. "Wait," I murmured. She didn't answer. I looked at her in the rearview mirror. He stood motionless, staring outside, as if he had been expecting it. I stepped on the brake. "We've been here before." Silence. "We're going in circles," I said, raising my voice. That's when she finally turned her face away, and he looked at me. Her eyes were red, not from crying, from exhaustion, from an old fear. "You're noticing that too, right?" My heart raced. My hand trembled on the steering wheel. "What do you mean by also?" She didn't answer. She just looked out the window again, as if she were waiting for something to appear outside. I took a deep breath. I tried to calm down. I thought quickly. Maybe it was just tiredness. Maybe I'd turned the wrong way. Maybe the city seemed repetitive at dawn, all those empty streets blending together in my head. "Look, I'm going to follow the GPS now, okay? We'll leave here and—" "It's no use," she interrupted. Her voice came out dry, without emotion. "I've already tried." A shiver ran down the back of my neck. "What have you tried so far?" She didn't answer. I picked up my phone. The app screen looked normal. The destination was still marked. The route was plotted. Everything was working. But when I looked at the map, the surrounding streets were blank. No names, no landmarks, just gray lines forming a maze. I left my cell phone in the cup holder. This isn't right. I stepped on the gas. I turned right. I accelerated even more. I ignored what she had said. I needed to get out of there. I needed to find a main avenue, a traffic light, anything that would prove I was still in Boston. I passed by a corner. I saw the gas station again. Same rusty sign swaying, same cracked glass in the door, same shadow stretched across the floor. My foot trembled on the pedal. No, that's not happening. I kept driving. Faster now. I turned left, then right. I tried to break the pattern. I tried to force a different route. But every time I turned around, the bus stop, graffiti, they don't leave. The brown dog, sleeping, always in the same position, always. I stopped the car in the middle of the street. My breath was short, rapid. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my temples. I looked at the clock on the dashboard again. 2:47. Nothing has changed. I looked at my phone. Same time. I looked at the watch on my wrist. 2:47. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, more to myself than to her. That's when I heard a low, metallic sound, like something being dragged across the asphalt, coming from behind the car. I looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing. The street was empty, dark. Only the lampposts cast that sickly yellow light onto the wet asphalt. But the sound continued. Drag. To. Drag. To. My whole body tensed up. "Are you hearing this?" I asked, my voice faltering. She didn't answer, but I saw her fingers tighten their grip on the bag's strap. The sound stopped. Absolute silence. No wind, no distant car engine, no barking dog, Nothing, as if the city had been sucked into a vacuum. Then she spoke, so softly I could barely hear. "He always stops here." My blood froze. "Who?" She turned her face toward me, slowly, and this time her eyes were different, deeper, more tired, as if she had lived through this 1,000 times. "The driver ahead of you." Before I could ask what she meant, all the car lights went out, the dashboard, the headlights, the interior light, everything. Total darkness. My heart pounded in my chest. I tried turning the key. Nothing. I tried again. The engine wouldn't start. Not a click. Not a sound. Silence. And then, 3 knocks. Tock, tock, tock. On the driver's side window. Slowly. Deliberate. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My eyes were fixed on the window, but all I saw was reflected darkness. "Don't look," she whispered behind me, but I was already looking. Here you go. A silhouette. Standing. Outside. So close I could see the vapor of her breath on the glass. But it had no face. I can't properly describe what I saw. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a person. It was an absence. As if someone had cut out a piece of reality and left a human-shaped hole there, standing outside my car. The silhouette didn't move. It just stood there. My throat was constricted. I couldn't scream. I couldn't look away. It was as if my brain had frozen, trapped in that loop of pure terror. Then the thing tilted its head, slowly, as if he were studying me. "Don't look," the passenger repeated, more urgently now. "Please, don't look." But it was too late. The silhouette raised its hand, or what appeared to be a hand, and tapped on the glass again. Tock, tock, tock. Each beat echoed inside the car as if it were coming from inside my own skull. I leaned back in the seat. I tried turning the key again. Nothing. The car was completely dead. I picked up my cell phone. Black screen. It wouldn't even turn on. "What is this?" My voice came out hoarse, broken. "What in that?" She was huddled in the back seat now, hugging her purse to her chest. "I don't know," she said, and for the first time I heard real panic in her voice. "I swear I don't know. I just wanted to get out." "Leave from where? What are you talking about?" Tears were streaming down her face now. "I got into the wrong car. 3 weeks ago. I accepted a ride. And since then I haven't been able to leave. I wake up every night at 2:47 a.m. on the same street, waiting for the car. And when it arrives..." She stopped. She swallowed hard. "I always go in. Always. I try not to. I swear I try. But my body just goes in, and the race starts again, and again, and again. New." My stomach churned. "Are you saying that you're not real? You unreal!" she screamed, desperate. "I'm real, I just can't get out. And you?" She looked at me with those red, exhausted eyes. "You're not the first driver. There have been others. They've stopped here too. And when the lights go out, he comes..." "Who?" The silhouette hit the glass again. Harder this time. Bam, bam, bam. The whole car shook. My hand went for the door handle. Stupid instinct. As if getting out of the car would solve anything. But before I could open it, a sound, grave, profound, like metal being bent. It was coming from under the car. Something was crawling underneath. I froze it. I looked in the side mirror. The silhouette was no longer beside the window. She had disappeared. But the sound continued. Louder, closer, drag to, coming from behind. I forced my eyes to look in the rearview mirror. Here you go, in the back seat. It wasn't just the passenger. There was someone sitting next to her, a man, or what's left of one. Gray skin, deep set, glassy eyes, mouth slightly open. Wearing a driver's uniform, blue polo shirt, badge hanging around his neck. He was looking at me, fixedly. And then, she smiled. My whole body went into shock. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I tried to move, but I was paralyzed. The passenger turned her head slowly. She saw the man beside her, and she started to cry. No. Not again, please. The man in the back seat reached out, slowly, toward my shoulder. That's when the dashboard clock flashed. Once. And it changed, 2:48. The car lights came back on, all at once. Dashboard lit up, headlights on, engine running. I stepped on the gas without thinking. The car sped off. I looked in the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty, completely empty. The passenger had disappeared. The man too. I was alone. I drove. I don't know where. I just drove. I turned onto any street, any direction. I just wanted to get out of that place, out of that nightmare. And then I saw a sign, "Welcome to Boston." It was as if I were entering the city, as if I'd never been there. I pulled the car over to the side of the road. I turned it off. I breathed. I trembled. I cried. I picked up my cell phone. It was working. I opened the app. No active running. No call history at 2:47 a.m. Nothing. As if it never happened. But when I looked at the back seat, there was something, a badge, fallen on the ground. Name, Marcus DeLeon. Below, in small print, Uber driver, missing since 03/12/2025. I picked up the badge with trembling hands. The plastic was cold, freezing, as if it had been in the freezer for hours. The photo showed a man of about 40 years old, short beard, tired smile, the same face I had seen in the back seat. Marcus DeLeon, missing. My mind began to process, slowly, as if I were swimming in mud. I knew that name. I'd heard about him, months ago, maybe a year. Other drivers were talking about him in groups, a guy who had disappeared during a ride. The car was found empty near Dorchester. Door open, cell phone on the seat, engine running, no sign of him. The police investigated. Nothing, no body, no witnesses, no explanation. And now, his ID badge was in my car. I dropped the thing on the bench as if it were burning. I looked around. The road was empty. Lampposts stretched along the highway. Silence, cold wind, nothing else. I started the car again. I needed to go home, lock the door, forget about it. But when I put my hand on the gear shift, the rearview mirror, something moved, not inside the car, back. I turned my head slowly. Nothing. Just the empty road stretching into the darkness. But when I looked in the rearview mirror again, he was there. Marcus, standing in the middle of the track, about 30 meters away, stopped, looking at me. My heart exploded. I stepped on the gas. The car sped off. I didn't look back. I didn't think. I just drove. 5 minutes, 10, 15. City lights began to appear. Buildings, traffic lights, cars, people, reality. I parked in front of a 24-hour gas station. Fluorescent lights, movement, security guards, witnesses. I took a deep breath, several times. I picked up my cell phone. I looked for news about Marcus DeLeon. I found, a ride-hailing driver mysteriously disappears in Dorchester. Family asks for help. Date, March 12, 2025. Exactly 3 weeks ago. Same area where I picked up the passenger. I continued reading. DeLeon was last seen accepting a ride at 2:43 a.m. The car was found at 6:15 a.m., empty, with the engine still running. 2:43. 4 minutes before my call, my throat went dry. I looked at the back seat in the rearview mirror, empty. But then, I saw something I hadn't seen before. a brand in the upholstery, like a burn or an imprint in the shape of a hand, 5 fingers pressed into the fabric, as if someone had held on tight, desperately, trying not to get dragged along. I got out of the car. I slammed the door. I went into the gas station. I bought coffee. Anything to keep me awake, to keep me around people. I stayed there until the sun came up. When I got home, I threw the badge in the trash. I deleted the app. I never drove at night again. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I hear 3 knocks, tock, 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 at the bedroom window. And when I look at the clock, it always shows 2:47. I spent 2 weeks locked in my house. I didn't drive. I didn't go out at night. I could barely sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that silhouette. I heard the banging. I felt the weight of that presence in the back seat. I started drinking to try and pass out. Cheap whiskey. Anything that would get me to shut down before 2:47 a.m. Because every night, at exactly that time, something happened. The lights were flickering. The cell phone kept freezing. And I could hear footsteps in the hallway, slow, dragging, stopping at my door. But when I opened it, nothing. Just the empty hallway, silent, cold. I sought help. I tried telling some friends. They laughed. They said I was tired, stressed, and that I should see a therapist. Perhaps they were right. Maybe I had gone crazy that night. Perhaps none of that had been real. But then, I received a message. Unknown number. 3:12 a.m. Just one sentence. You didn't leave. I dropped my phone on the bed. My heart was racing. I ignored it. I blocked the number. But the next day, another message, another number. He's still waiting. And the next day, 2:47. I stopped looking at messages. I changed my number. I deactivated social media. But they kept coming. Slips of paper under the door, scribbled in the dust of the car. Always the same thing. 2:47. So I made a decision. I went back to that street in Dorchester, to the place where it all began. It was midday. Bright sun. People in the street. Children playing. Cars passing by. Everything's normal. I walked to the exact spot where I picked up the passenger. There was nothing special about it. Just a sidewalk, trees, old houses. But when I looked at the ground, Flores, wilted, old, left there by someone. It's a small sign, almost hidden in the grass. In memory of Sarah Owens, 1994-2025. I looked up the name on my cell phone. I found, woman disappears after requesting a ride through an app, last seen at 2:40 a.m. Date, March 5th, 2025, 1 week before Marcus. And below the news, comments, dozens of them. My cousin disappeared in the same way. My sister disappeared after a race in that area. They found her car, empty, engine running. All between 2:40 and 2:50 in the morning. Everyone in Dorchester, everyone, disappeared. My breath caught in my throat. I put my phone away. I went back to the car. When I sat in the driver's seat, I felt it. That cold, that weight. I looked in the rear-view mirror, and she was there. In the back seat. The passenger. Same clothes, same hair, same tired eyes. She looked at me, and he whispered, "You're back." My voice disappeared. She tilted her head. "Now you understand, right?" I tried to leave, but the door wouldn't open. It was locked. I looked at the dashboard. 2:47. Even though it's midday. She leaned forward. "We're not going out, Rodrigo. We're just waiting for the next one." The lights went out, and I heard ping, a call dropping on the app, which I had deleted weeks ago. I looked at my cell phone. On the body, new race, Dorchester, accept. My hand moved on its own, and he accepted. I still drive, every night, at 2:47 a.m., always the same route, always the same passengers, and sometimes I see other cars, trapped in the same loop. Drivers with empty eyes, driving, waiting, just like me. Something happened to me, and to this day I can't understand it. It was past 3:30 in the morning when I accepted that ride. I'd been in Detroit for almost 6 hours, driving around the same empty streets, picking up drunks, sleepless students, and night shift workers. My body was screaming for rest, my back ached, my eyes burned, but I needed that money. I always needed it. Since the divorce, driving has become my escape. Not for the road, not for the freedom, but because inside the car I didn't have to think. I didn't have to feel the silence of that empty house swallowing me whole. So I accepted ride after ride, stretching the night until my body almost passed out behind the wheel. That's how I saw the notification in the app. Ride requested, 2.3 miles, $18. Address, Industrial Street near Hamtramck. Strange neighborhood, disused factories, few people. I hesitated for a second. My instinct whispered, never mind, go home. But I pressed to accept. I arrived at the location 3 minutes later, a poorly lit corner, burned out streetlights, just a brick building in the background, windows as dark as holes, no movement. I almost cancelled. That's when the back door suddenly opened, fast, violent. He came in and slammed the door shut. I got a fright. I turned around reflexively, but I only saw his silhouette adjusting himself in the seat. Hood up, face hidden, hands trembling. Good evening, I said, trying to sound normal. Silence. I waited. Nothing. Then he spoke. His voice was hoarse, muffled, as if he were hurt. Don't look back. Guided. I thought it was a joke or a threat. I thought about telling him to leave. But something about the way he said it, it wasn't aggressive. It was fear, pure fear. I swallowed hard. I confirmed the destination on the app, distant address, almost on the outskirts of the city, rural area. Abandoned building, according to the map. I started the car. The streets were deserted, traffic lights flashing yellow in the void. Only the roar of the engine and his heavy breathing in the back seat. I felt my heart pounding too hard, sweaty hands on the steering wheel. I tried to start a conversation. Long night, huh? Silence. Are you going to work or heading home? Nothing. Just that breathing. Irregular. Broken. And then the radio crackled. It wasn't normal static. It was something wrong deep. Distorted, as if someone were trying to tune into a frequency that didn't exist. I tried to turn it off. It didn't work. I changed seasons. The hissing continued. And in the midst of all that noise, I heard my name, my full name. Caio Enrique Almeida. My blood froze. My hand trembled on the steering wheel. The voice on the radio wasn't human. It was distorted, drawn out, as if it came from very far away, or from very deep within. It repeated my name slowly, syllable by syllable, savoring each letter. Caio Enrique Almeida. I had never given my full name to anyone on the app. Never. Only Caio A appeared on the passenger's screen. So how did that happen? I pressed the power button hard. Nothing. I tried changing the volume. Stuck. I unplugged the auxiliary cable. The hissing continued, now louder, more present, as if I were inside the car. What the hell is this? I muttered, more to myself. The passenger did not respond, but I heard something worse. He started Toto cry. Quietly, almost imperceptible at first. Muffled sobs, as if trying to hold them back but unable to anymore. My whole body tensed. every muscle locked up. I wanted to turn around, see his face, understand what was happening. But that voice still echoed in my head. Don't look back. So I didn't look. I continued driving. The streets grew narrower, less lit. Trees began to appear on the sides, branches twisted like pointing fingers. There were no more cars. There was nothing left, only darkness. And that crying. He was crying like someone who had lost everything, like someone who was taken. I tried to speak, but my voice came out weak. Hey, is everything all right back there? The crying stopped suddenly. Absolute silence. Even the radio went silent. Only the sound of the engine, my breathing, my heart pounding erratically. And then he spoke. His voice trembled. This always happens. I froze. What? I asked. When someone accepts this race, my throat went dry. I wanted to laugh, to say it was crazy, that he was drunk or high. But the way he said it, it was true. Absolutely true. Terrifying. What are you talking about? I forced the words out. He took a deep breath, as if gathering courage. I shouldn't have gotten in that car, but I needed to. Just like you. What did you need? To escape. The word echoed in the enclosed space. Escape. Escape from what? From whom? I felt something change in the air. The temperature dropped. My breath came out in vapors, even with the heater on. My fingers began to tingle from the cold, and the radio is back, but this time it wasn't my name. It was a different voice, lower, older, as if it came from decades ago, scratched by static and time. He is here! My foot almost hit the brake. Almost. But something stopped me. Some primal instinct screaming, don't stop. Don't stop. If you stop, he'll come in. Who's here? I asked, my voice trembling. The passenger did not respond, but who felt? I felt as if there was a fourth presence in the car. Something invisible, something heavy, something that occupied space without form, that breathed without lungs. I looked in the rearview mirror, not to see the passenger, but to see behind him. And for a fraction of a second, I swear I saw it. A silhouette, curved, standing right behind the back seat, where there was no space, where there should have been nothing. I blinked. It disappeared. My hand gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my fingers cracked. Don't look. The passenger's voice returned, now firm, desperate. For God's sake, don't look. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stop the car and run, but my hands wouldn't obey. I kept driving, as if something was forcing me to. How if I had no choice? The GPS still indicated 12 minutes to the destination. 12 minutes. It seemed like an eternity. I needed to understand. I needed answers. Anything that would make sense of it all, even if it was a lie, an illusion, anything but that. What do you mean by, this always happens? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The passenger took a while to respond. I heard him shift in his seat, the creaking of the leather, his breathing still uneven. I accepted this race 3 years ago. My stomach churned. What do you mean? 3 years? I was a driver. Like you. He sniffed, wiping his face. Night shift. Always the night shift. I needed the money. My daughter, she was sick. Bills kept piling up. His voice broke again, but he continued. I accepted the ride. Same time, same area. I thought it was just another one. But when the passenger got in, he paused. He had no face. My blood ran cold. Not literally. Like, I couldn't focus. Whenever I tried to look, my vision blurred, as if my brain refused, let's see. I knew exactly what he was talking about, because it was exactly what I was feeling now. And the radio? I asked. It started the same way, hissing sound. Then my name, my whole name, repeated, as if someone were telling me, calling, but not for conversation. Photo mark, to mark. The word gave me chills all over. And when I arrived at my destination, he took a deep breath. He got out of the car, and I drove home. I thought it was over, that it was just a crazy guy, a strange coincidence. But it's not over. No. His voice was a whisper now. He started appearing. In the mirrors, in the windows, in the rearview mirror, always from a distance, always standing still, just looking, and every time I saw it, the radio was crackling. It didn't matter where I was. Car, home, work. He knew. My breathing was rapid. My hands were sweaty. My heart was racing. So why are you here? Why did you come into the car? Silence, a heavy silence, dense. Then he spoke, and his response destroyed me. Because I never left. No, no, no. I drove home that night. I remember everything. But when I woke up, I was back, here on this street, in this car, in this race. And there's always a new driver, always someone who accepts, always someone who, he choked, always someone like me. I wanted to tell him he was crazy, that none of this made sense. But my mind was already connecting the dots, the endless races, the exhaustion, the feeling that I was fleeing of something, but I never knew what. It is. What if I had already accepted this ride before? What if I had never left? No, I murmured, more to myself. No, this isn't happening. The radio exploded in static. A sharp, inhuman scream ripped through the air. I covered my ears, but the sound was coming from within. It reverberated in my bones, in my head. And then, in the midst of the chaos, I heard the voice again. You accepted. Now you belong to me. The car shook, as if something had hit it from the outside. I looked in the rearview mirror. Wrong, I shouldn't have looked. It is you. The silhouette. Now closer. Bent over. Long, thin fingers pressed against the rear window. Not from the outside, from the inside. My vision blurred. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't know if it was fear or if my body was simply gave up to process that. The passenger shouted, "Don't look! I warned you!" But it was too late. The thing in the back seat moved his head, slow, deliberate, and I felt it. She was looking at me. I floored the accelerator. I didn't think, I just reacted. The car sped down the empty road, tires screeching, engine roaring. I needed to get there. Wherever it was, I needed to end that. The GPS continued its mechanical voice, indifferent to the horror. At 800 feet, turn left. My breath came in short bursts. Sweat dripped down my face. I couldn't stop trembling. Every fiber of my body screamed for me to get out of that car, but my muscles wouldn't obey. It was as if something was holding me back, held no place. The passenger was silent now, only his heavy, ragged breathing. And that presence, that invisible weight that occupied the space between us. The road changed. Asphalt turned to gravel. Trees closed in on both sides, branches scratching the sides of the car. Total darkness. Only my headlights cutting through the night like weak blades. You have arrived at your destination. My foot instinctively pressed the brake. The car stopped. Ahead, emerging from the darkness like an open wound in the world, stood the building. Dark red brick, almost black. 3 stories, broken windows, some covered with rotten boards. An old factory, perhaps, or warehouse. Something that should have been demolished decades ago, but still stood, like a scar that never heals. No light, no sound, only the wind whistling through the empty structures. We've arrived. The passenger's voice sounded behind me, different, calmer, resigned. I was still gripping the steering wheel. My fingers were white from the force. I couldn't move. I don't want to look back, I admitted, my voice breaking. You'll have to take a look. Why? Because now you need to know. My heart was pounding. Every beat hurt. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. I tried to find courage somewhere inside myself. 1, 2, 3. I'll come. And I looked back. The passenger's face was now raised. Hood down. Pale. Skin as gray as old concrete. Sunken eyes. Red at the edges. As if he hadn't slept in years. Hair stuck to his sweaty forehead. But what made me choke up were the brands. Purple. Dark. Around the neck. Finger shape. 5 on each side. Large. Imprinted on his skin like tattoos of violence. He had been strangled. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked at me with infinite sadness, and then he whispered, "Now he knows you exist." Before I could answer, he opened the door. The sound echoed in the silence. He left slowly, as if each movement hurt. He stood outside for a moment, looking at me through the window, and then he pointed, not for me, for the rear-view mirror. My blood froze. No. I didn't want to look. Not again. But my gaze moved, by itself, as if something forced, and I saw it. In the reflection, behind my seat, it wasn't human. Not completely. The form was wrong too, bent over. Limbs too long. Head tilted at an impossible angle. No face, just a shadow. But I could feel it. The eyes, fixed on me. Passing through the mirror. Passing through my skin. Seeing everything. Knowing everything. My mind screamed. My body panicked. I tried to turn around to look directly, but when my eyes rolled back, nothing. Empty bench. I turned to the rearview mirror again. He was still there. Closer. Tilted, as if it were smelling my fear. A sound escaped my throat. It wasn't a word. It was pure terror. The passenger banged on the window. I looked at him. Tears were streaming down his face. He moved his lips. No sound, but I could read it. I am really sorry. Then he turned and walked towards the building. It disappeared into the darkness. The back door was still open. The cold wind blew in, and with it, that smell, wet soil, rust, decomposition. I let go of the steering wheel. I trembled violently. I tried to start the car, to get out of there, to escape. The key turned. Nothing. I tried again. Click, click, click. Died. And then I felt it. One breath, on my neck, cold, damp, rotten, and a voice. So close it seemed. Inside my head. Welcome. I woke up. Sunlight streaming through the curtains. The smell of stale coffee. A crumpled blanket draped over me. My bed. My house. I blinked several times, disoriented. My body ached. My throat was dry. My head throbbed as if I'd been hit. I sat down slowly. I looked around. Everything normal. Messy room. Clothes on the floor. Cell phone on the bedside table. How did I get back home? The last thing I remembered was the breath on my neck. The voice. The smell. My stomach churned. I jumped up and vomited in the bathroom sink. My hands trembled. I was sweating cold. I tried to breathe, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that one in the rearview mirror. I washed my face. Cold water. I tried to calm down. It was a dream. It had to be a dream. But then, I looked in the mirror. Here you go. A brand. On my neck. Purple. Small. Like the tip of a finger pressed against the skin. My heart stopped. I touched it with trembling fingers. It hurt. It was real. No, I whispered. I staggered out of the bathroom. I grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped it. I opened the ride-hailing app, Ride History. I scrolled across the screen, and there it was. Yesterday, 3:32 a.m. Race completed. Starting address, Hamtramck. Destination, abandoned building. Rural area. Distance, 18.7 miles. Payment, $18. I had gone. It had happened. It was real. My legs gave way. I sat on the floor, leaning against the wall. My breathing was erratic. I tried to think. To process. To make sense of it all. How did I get back? Who brought me? The car was dead, I remember. My phone vibrated. Notification. I ignored it. It vibrated again, and again, and again. I looked at the screen. News alert. Man missing for 4 years in Detroit. Case reopened. My finger trembled when I touched the notification. The material loaded. Photo of a man, young, tired smile, taxi driver's uniform. I read the name, Marcus Jennings, 29 years old. Taxi driver, missing since March 2021. I continued reading. Marcus was last seen accepting a ride in the Hamtramck area of Detroit at approximately 3:30 a.m. His car was found days later, abandoned near a disused industrial building. No trace of Marcus has been found. Police reopened the investigation following recent reports of other missing drivers in the same area. My blood ran cold. Rolls and bodies. There were more names. Kevin Ortiz, 2019. Amanda Reeves, 2020. David Tran, 2022. Liam O'Connor, 2024. All drivers, all night shift. All disappeared after rides in the same region. And then I saw something that took my breath away. At the end of the article, a note from the police. Witnesses report that, weeks before the disappearance, the victims complained of strange rides, passengers who didn't speak, and voices on the car radio. The room spun around me. I put down my phone, I leaned my head against the wall, I closed my eyes, and then I remembered, the radio. The voice repeating my name wasn't random. It was a called, and the name she said before, of my Marcus Jennings, the missing taxi driver. He was the passenger. My whole body trembled. Tears burned my eyes, not from sadness, from absolute terror, because I understood. Marcus never left that race. He stayed, taken, and now it was part of the cycle. Passing from car to car, from driver to driver, trying to warn, trying to save, but never succeeding. And now I was marked. I spent the rest of the day locked in my house. I refused rides. I turned off the app. I tried to convince myself that if I didn't accept, I would be safe. But at night, when the sun set and darkness fell, my phone vibrated. I looked at the screen. New ride requested. Starting address, Hamtramck. Destination, unknown. Time, 3:32 a.m. My finger hovered over decline, but then I heard. My car radio in the garage started playing, alone, Chiando, and a voice, distorted, familiar. Cayo, Enrique, Almeida. I looked at my phone again. The notification was still there. To accept, my hand trembled, and I accepted. If you work the night shift, tell me where, and if you've been through something similar, you already know what to do.